Relationships are everything. We know this is true. Family and friends, people and animals, the soil, the air, the water, and sun. Our mission is to help people reconnect with the most important place relationships happen, your home. We believe that every house, no matter how big or small, can be productive, beautiful, and restorative. We believe by healing relationships within our home, we can heal the world.
I'll zoom in on the bananas.
Got any advice? What did you say before? We better get at it. We chop chop.
Chop chop. Get to it.
And what were you saying in the car to me?
You look beautiful and I believe in you because this is your first time doing a, what is it called? Podcast.
Yeah. So now you are going to be a star in our video.
Yay!
Just talk for a bit.
Hi, welcome to the Homesteading School. Is my hair good?
Yeah, we're talking. So that's
Am I a bit over?
No. It's
No?
perfect, so it's fine.
Let's do this.
Let's do this then.
There was a little quote that I thought would be really cool for us to sort of say beforehand, and it was something about, it was like a little prayer.
I should get a pair of scissors.
Yes. Allow the words to come through me that would benefit them, and allow the ears or something to listen to. Yeah, you know, like is that making the connection of the words to the people who need to hear it. Yeah, something like that. So anyway, I've got to look that up because it would be cool to just say that.
Let's angle our chairs.
Yeah,
a bit.
that's all.
This feels so awkward.
It
now.
does.
So I'm back again, and you might notice something a bit different this time. We've got a new friend on the journey with us today. So far I've been kind of going on this journey on my own, but fortunately a few weeks ago I had a really good conversation with my friend Sheree, and she said just some really encouraging words to me to help me sort of get a bit more insight and oversight over what I was getting up to. And through that process I sort of said to Sheree, half jokingly, would you like to come and join me on the Homesteading School? And yeah, you said, yeah, I'd really like that.
I was so excited when you sent that text message, like, play it cool, play it cool. So yeah, I was very excited too.
And obviously we've got a lot more merch. We're feeling a bit self-conscious about all of our new stuff, but at the same time we felt like it was really important for us to lay claim to what we were doing. So today, to start out our journey, I actually want to just talk to Sheree about her story and how she started out with homesteading, and introduce her to you guys so that you get to know who she is. What is your story? Tell us. So
it's always a funny thing, isn't it, when you first start? Just where do you start to describe someone that's, a person?
Exactly.
So, but I guess in the context of homesteading, so I'm Sheree, and I have a homestead in Serena, close to Serena Beach. I've got a husband, 5 children, 4 living at home. We homeschool, and I predominantly run our little homestead. I have a milking cow, a couple of sheep, chickens, ducks.
Do you have ducks?
Yes,
I didn't know you had ducks. What's the plan with the ducks?
They're kind of just freeloaders, but Gordon, the Drake, is always on his last legs because he can sometimes be a bit pushy. So we have a love-hate relationship, Gordon and I. Yes.
We have a one sass policy on our farm. So if an
that.
animal sasses us one time, we're like, nah, you're done. That's finished.
Gordon has he is more with the kids. He knows not to mess with me. But sometimes with the boys he'll hiss at them and stuff.
Yeah. So. Yes. I have had many an animal try to do such a thing on our farm, and it doesn't last very long.
Yes, we do have that. I love that no sass, one sass.
One sass policy.
I love that.
Yeah.
But we do have the similar thing where, we don't have any violent animals, anything that's going to butt or, and it just makes it a more pleasant place to come and visit and be.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now.
So tell me a little bit about, we've met about 10 years ago now, which is quite a long time, and we've had a lot to do with each other over those 10 years. And we'll go into that story a little bit later on.
Our little love story.
Yeah, our love story. and the wider context of how the homesteading journey has evolved in this area, in this township, in this region.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we'll just chat more about your story and how you got into homesteading.
Yeah.
So you are a homeschool mum. Were you homeschooling from the beginning, or did you sort of move into that sort of role?
Definitely. I had my son is 23, and he went to mainstream schooling. He just didn't really fit into the box of that, and he struggled. And just being a mum, wanting to try and help her child, I kept looking for other options and things like that. When he was younger, I'd never even heard of people homeschooling. That was for people who I think like yourself did school of the year, on a property, things like that. So I was talking to a friend one day, and she mentioned the word unschooling to me, and I had never even heard of it. And just from that, I sort of started looking into it, and I guess it just felt right in my heart to, and my younger children I had one that was in prep at the time. And we just made the decision as a family to head down that road. We haven't looked back. So that was about 11 years ago now. Yeah.
So you kind of started your homeschooling before you started your homesteading sort of journey.
Yeah.
So they intermeshed with each other?
It was definitely like a decision. It was a lifestyle decision to homeschool or unschool. I had a Whole Foods business at the time when we decided to do that. And we lived in Mackay, and basically we sort of just chose to have a different lifestyle altogether.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of deciding, am I going to keep pursuing this business, sending my children to school and focusing on that, or do we sell up and go and have that different lifestyle where, the importance lies in spending that quality time together. Being around each other all the time.
Yeah.
And, the farm really just helps to...
It kind of came out of that.
Yes, definitely.
So you do a lot of your own fermenting, you make bread, you make sauerkraut, no, that's not the kimchi and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you start to do that, like you said, you had a whole foods business. Did that dietary kind of process come out of that?
Yes, I had a child, my middle child, who had basically, he screamed for the first 4 months of his life, and that really prompts a person to look into health.
Yeah, for sure.
And basically, you know, the medical system didn't have any answers for me. You know, their answer was just to put him on a prescription formula and to not breastfeed anymore, and that just did not feel right for me. So, I mean, that's probably a whole nother conversation in itself, but that just led me down that path of healing with food. At the time, so he's almost 13, and at the time you couldn't get anything. People didn't even know what quinoa or quinoa, what everyone called it back then, even any alternative grains, things like that, because I wanted to provide him with a break from, you know, wheat, gluten, dairy. I've since switched paths and things like that now, but then back then I was searching for those alternative grains and couldn't find them, even in the that was before even the supermarkets had any sort of organic or alternative range. And so I thought, well, maybe there's other people like me out there that need to access those different grains. So I thought I'd just start a business selling them.
Yeah.
So then I'd go to the markets. So I was doing all that before I got the farm. I had an awesome, beautiful mentor that taught me all about fermented foods. She's done a few workshops doing kimchi, sourdough, you know, things like that. So, and she taught me a lot. So this was all before we even moved to the farm. I was doing all that. Yeah.
So when you moved to the farm, it almost became a natural process then for you to move from food to growing your own food. Where did that start for you? What was your first project? Because you've had this saying, and I love Sheree's saying, is that she used to kill air plants. Who kills air plants? And that's something you and I are both very passionate about. Is, you know, we have lots of friends and we know people who say, I'm a brown thumb, I kill everything I touch.
Yeah.
And we want to tell a story that, you know, no one is a brown thumb really. So, but you were like the classic brown thumb. You killed air plants. Tell me a little bit about how you went from killing air plants to today.
So I guess even looking back at my childhood, farming, growing food skipped a generation. So my grandparents, I don't think you'd call them farmers. They just, at the time, they had to grow food, otherwise they would starve, you know. So my grandfather on my mum's side, my mum often talks about, you know, her father coming home from work and milking the cow, and he had this beautiful big veggie patch. So I feel like just even a little part of that was, you know, like, well, if he could do it, I've got those genes, you know, maybe I do have it in me. I just haven't learnt the skills.
I have had exactly the same thought process. I come from multiple generations of farmers on both sides of my family, and I just had that instinct inside to say, you know what, it's in my genes, surely I can. You know, and the reality is that it's actually in everyone's genetic makeup to grow food or hunt for food or gather food or somehow be,
otherwise we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here if we didn't have some kind of connection to food. So continue your story.
So you know, and my mum, you know, often would say, if my dad didn't hunt rabbits, we would have starved. You know, if we didn't have our veggie patch, we would have starved as kids. I had 6 children. And so, you know, I felt like, okay, so even though I have this, I mean, there was a point in my life when I was younger that I didn't actually even know what a capsicum plant looked like, you know, and one of my things that I love to do is, like, when my kids have friends over, is to just show them if they're interested. You know, it brings me just so much joy to show a child what that plant, that food that they might eat comes from. And I think that's just nurturing that younger version of me that didn't know those things, you know. So I guess being a part of our permaculture group that we started, you know, and
had 7 years ago, probably more now.
surrounding myself with people. I mean, I guess that's why I'm so passionate about the Homesteading School, is because basically that's what's got me to where we are now. The permaforces that we do, you know, we go around to other people's places, and that's such a win-win, because you go there to help out, but you gather so much. You know, going over to people's places and just seeing what abundance even looks like. I remember the first time we went and visited
the one in Mackay.
Luke in Harmony.
Luke in Harmony's place.
Yeah. At Wintermoon even, when we went out there.
Yeah, I remember that trip.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Walking through the orchard, which was all under the trees, and they transformed an old fruit grove orchard with the netting into a massive big permaculture forest.
It was basically just grass, and he's just gone, I'll just turn this into a food forest. And it was just like, wow. You know, and that was the sort of thing that I hadn't ever just seen that much food growing in person. You know, I mean, I'm sure I could probably, you know, look up, but I would even look up, you know, tropical permaculture videos, and there's not a lot that you can sort of find. So yeah, just feeling the abundance and then taking it and creating it, and you know, just all the stuff I guess that we want to help people with has been the things that have helped me to learn. Yeah.
And I think that's our story. That's why we feel like we have a story to tell, is that it's taken us 10 years to gather all these bits of information. And to be honest, that you'll find this information everywhere on YouTube if you actually have a look for it. But we feel like it's important to tell our story for our community so that they can feel connected to that they feel that they can jump on board with that story and go on that journey with us. What we're bringing to you is all the tips and tricks that we've learnt over the last 10 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And also
how to go from here to here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So later on I want to do another episode where we discuss your milking cow. Now,
please let me talk about it. My friends are so sick of hearing about it.
To save your friends' sanity, so that they can just press play on one recording and never have to listen to you talk about it again.
They are very encouraging and they do enjoy it. So,
I would love to talk a little bit about the milking cow story for you, because I think it kind of condenses all of the lessons that you've learned. Give me a typical snapshot of your day and how you go about with your milking cow. And what that feels like for you. Yeah,
so I wake up and, you know, the whole, you've got to wake up before the sun's up just to, my cow's really patient, and I milk about 7:30 or 8 in the morning. So I get up and I'm the type of person that I actually get so excited about breakfast, and I wake up to eat. So my husband and I joke about, he just eats to live and I live to eat, because I just, everything about food, I want to eat it, I want to grow it, I want to, you know, make it, all of it. I love it all. So I wake up and I have my breakfast, and I've usually got 1 or 2 children awake, and then I head down, and I still calf share. At this time, we're about 8 months into milking, and I get about 4 or 5 litres a day. And then I let the calf out, and she will usually finish off, really empty the udder. And then she goes along happily with mama all day, and then we repeat the process. So that works, because there's days where there hasn't been a lot over the 8 months, but there's days where I can just let her out, and then I'm not going to risk, you know, the cow getting mastitis or anything, because I'm not taking the milk out. So yeah. So
if you spoke to yourself 10 years ago, would she have believed that you could have all this knowledge and be able to milk a cow, get up and milk a cow like this? Or
I think she would just think I was like the coolest ever.
So you would be your own hero 10 years ago.
Yeah. I think I always had that, you know, people who farmed, just like, I was in awe of that. You know, and I think that it was so much about confidence. You know, who am I to call myself a farmer? It took me probably about 8 years of having our homestead to even dare to say that I was a farmer, you know. And I think it was, you know, my two best friends and that would help and say Farmer Sheree, you know, because I just didn't feel like I had a right to call myself a farmer. You know, I didn't have 150 head of cattle or, and it's funny how that's such a, you know, you feel like you're a bit of a cop-out or you're a fake if you don't do certain things. It's like, and I think I just thought about it one day and I'm like, well, what does make a farmer? I grow food, I have animals, I have acre, you know.
I eat my food.
I eat my food that I grow. But even that, you know, like you can have a space in town and still be a farmer, you know. So I think it was defining what is a farmer and challenging those thoughts. So yeah, a lot of it was definitely just about confidence and just owning it. Owning it.
I went through a very similar experience on our farm when I had a friend come and live with us for a year, and she was saying to me, what are you going to call your farm? What's its name? You know, and it really helped me transition from that idea of, I'm not a real farmer until I've got 150,000 acres and that sort of thing, to actually, yes, I do have a farm. I am productive. It is, it's a real farm. So I think it's so much more in our mind than it is what anyone tells us we are or are not. And that's why we're telling this story, is to help, you know, show people around the world and in our own communities what farming actually is, defining what farming is.
Which is really difficult to do.
It is very difficult to do, yes. My husband has this great quote, and I don't actually remember the exact numbers, but most of the world's productive farming occurs on less than 2 acres of land, I think. So, you know, if you've got anywhere up to 2 acres, you can be a productive farm. So,
and please don't think that the milking journey was at all smooth. I got kicked. I even had a graze on my nose. I got kicked by a cow in the face. I felt so badass.
You actually felt good about it.
Well, afterwards, I was terrified at the time. You know, and she still sometimes kicks. Cows are really weird, so don't start me. But cows are if anything changes, you know, they can get a bit funny. And she kicked at me this morning, and I know how to move out of the way now. And I know that I'm safe, but to start with, I remember the first time she kicked me, I didn't have that respect for her because I didn't understand how full on that can be. And I still actually have a dent in my leg from it corked it. And I was just like, it knocked me over, and I was like, okay, I need to really have respect for the power that you have, even though you're this, you know, gentle giant. You can hurt me.
So what made you keep going though? You like milk.
Raw milk.
You like
you
like to eat.
And just knowing, you know, that for me, knowing those nutritional properties, I want my children to drink, you know, the raw milk. It makes, you know, again, we can go into things like that later on, but and it isn't easy to get by because it's illegal. And unless you've got your own cow, you can't get it. So basically that was my drive, was to be able to feed my family the best quality that I possibly could. And because I'd invested in this, you know, huge beast, and we were feeding her, and, you know, we don't have a huge paddock, so if I wasn't going to milk her, what am I going to do with her, you know? She wasn't a pet. She didn't buy her for a pet. So, you know, I needed to push through. And I remember my husband even saying to me, well, what are you going to do if you're not milking her? You bought a milk cow, you know? So it was sort of like, right, I've just got to do this. So kept pushing through.
Yeah, it's awesome. We might wrap up and move into the last part of the conversation.
I feel like that flowed.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Well, for our first time, I think it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
If we do say so.
If I do say so myself.
I promise.
Keep watching the channel. We're going to be endeavouring over the next few weeks to try and put a new video up every week. We've got a bit of a format in our mind of the type of content we'll be producing. So we want to have chats about local and global events and how that relates to homesteading. We're also going to be interviewing experts in the fields that we're interested in, so that will be once a month. And then we also want to capture some local voices and tell the story from a local perspective about homesteading in this region. The other thing that we really want to do as we go on this journey is to tell our stories and how homesteading is happening on our own places. So Sheree has a farm and I have a farm, in case you haven't gathered. At the end of every month, we want to be putting a little video together to tell the story of what we got up to and the stuff that we learned and the stuff that was a challenge, just so that you feel like, you know, we're not sitting here telling everyone things that we're not also experiencing ourselves. We are going on this journey. Every month we will be getting kicked in the face by cows, hopefully not as much anymore. We'll be dealing with sick animals, we'll be dealing with triumph, we'll be dealing with tragedy, because that's just the nature of farming. So please come on the journey with us, tell us your stories as well, and that will make us come together as a tribe.
So if you could like, subscribe, and maybe share our journey with anyone that you think may be interested in sharing it. So today we'd really love if you would help us out by subscribing and going and liking our Facebook and Instagram pages. We really want to take you on this journey with us. And please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, because this is about us creating a village and something that you can also be a part of. And please don't think that just because you don't have a farm, we actually believe that every house is a homestead.
Awesome! Yay! Did it.
Change a man, you change a family. Change a family, you change a neighbourhood. Change a neighbourhood, you change a town. Change a town, you change a state. Change a state, you change a country. Change a country, you change the world. Every ripple in history, every ripple in the universe, every story ever rewritten, every moment this rock spins, today and 1,000 years from now starts with the change in a single man.